Hi there, business owner. Are you looking to improve your business knowledge? Do you want to see behind the scenes of successful businesses? And more importantly, are you looking to build a better business in just 15 minutes each week? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast.
So again, we've got in early with the trend, I believe. I feel like we got ahead of the game. We got in there first, which kind of sets you as more of an expert in your field because you've been doing it longer. Do you agree with that one?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it just brings that confidence, right? Because I know one of the things we want to talk about later is, how to start off or what to do when it goes forward or make that first start, right? But I think being at the start of it means that we're the ones who can make the mistakes, like you've already said. We're the ones who can figure out what's right, what's wrong. Is an hour good enough? Is an hour not good enough? Or is live right or is live wrong? We can start making those, like, test the waters, and as you've already said, we can adapt with it. But then hopefully that means that the next generation, the next people who come along, they don't have to do all that before, because we've already shown them that actually doing it this way and that way works. And imitation's actually quite a nice thing. It shows that you're doing something right. So if someone does imitate the Ask the Accountant podcast, then absolutely fine by me. That shows that we're doing something right. Okay. So, and then it gives more voices to listen to, and it gives us an opportunity to have that conversation and have that chance. And I think for me, the fact that we were starting this journey so early and before the majority of the rest of them just shows as well that we can then show that you don't need to have the latest and greatest tech. We can talk about how sometimes that's quite useful and it leads to opportunities, but actually it is just about having that opportunity to want to talk about it. And one of the things I always tell people is most of these conversations we've been having, most of the conversations we have on these podcasts are just the same conversations we have with our clients or with our team, or that we're basically grabbing that essence of what we do on a day-to-day basis, what we already get paid to do. So we must have some knowing about it, right? Otherwise, why are our clients paying for us and why is our staff still around? So obviously we have something about us. We've got something that's made us to be where we are today. And all we're really doing is grabbing those bits of greatness, those bits of nuggets of information, and we're just passing it to everyone else and passing it to the world and giving an opportunity for people to listen. And people want to listen because there's two types, right? There's people who are listening because they're wanting to learn about something because, maybe they feel like they're, a few steps behind the person who's on the podcast and they want to catch up, or, they know that person on the podcast is doing something amazing with AI, for example, and they're going, I need to get on that AI bandwagon, otherwise I'm going to be left behind. So what can I do to bring myself to there? So there's always that element of just wanting to learn and wanting to grab those nuggets and hold on to them and try and figure out. That's part and parcel of it. But also there's the fact that we're quite nosy as individuals, right? Like you put onto social that here's your monk mode and here's your daily routine. That gets a lot of traction because people are fixated of, wow, at 9 o'clock they did this and at 10 o'clock they did that. And, we're so nosy as people. Like a day in the life bit of content is so does so well in our social circles because people are generally just nosy. So if you're talking on the podcast about things that happen in your life and bits that happen with this client, and again, we put bits that are relevant to the story, that's what people are interested in, because people, they crave that interaction, right? They crave that. And most people we know, especially in the world of accountancy, if you're a practice owner or got your own business or anything like that, it's a lonely place, isn't it? It's a really lonely place. So sometimes just that ability while you're walking your dog or however you're consuming your podcasting content, just to know that someone else out there is going through the same issues that you are. If I have a rant about my 64.8 issue because I couldn't get registered for a client and HMRC were giving me all these issues or whatever the jargon's going to be, there's always going to be someone who's going to be sat there going, oh, thank God I was having the same problem. And, at least someone else is having that problem, right? And I feel like that's where this comes from, this whole, the whole world of trying to get our content out there, the whole pioneering of trying to use different content platforms. Now, I remember Clubhouse being like the starting point for me for how to kind of or why you want to talk and everything else. And that's the same concept, right? We're taking that that concept of just wanting to log in, listen to people while you're working. That's the beauty of podcasts, right? You just put them in the background, or you put it on while you're walking the dog, or it's a distraction, isn't it? And as long as you make that distraction worthwhile for that customer, for that listener, then that's how you build your community, and that's how it goes from there. So yeah, I think we're paving the way, hopefully, for lots and lots of others to come along and join this podcasting world. And that to me would be amazing if more people can join along.
Absolutely. Like I say, bumping into you at Accountex was amazing for me, because I don't know many others in this space. And our industry is special, and I've said this before on the podcast too. The bookkeeping and accountancy world is collaboration over competition. We are really community feel. We will all talk to each other. We'll share work amongst each other. You know, I have no qualms of coming to you going, I've got this problem with the podcast. How would you? I think when we spoke before, I said, you know, I've got this problem. How would you deal with it? And we just make each other better. And that is the promise of the 3Bs, building better business. Like, I want everyone to succeed. My 15 minutes podcast, I know some clients that use them as a timer.
Oh,
so
really?
they'll put a podcast on. If yours are an hour, amazing. Like, that's your 1 hour timer to get that task done. And you know when that episode finishes, because Netflix is too distracting. So if you've got a podcast in the background that you're listening to, that gives you that hour to get that task done, which I think is really helpful. It's something that clients, I went, oh, that's a really good idea.
That's brilliant.
Which takes me on to personal branding, because it's something else I really want to talk about, because I love that, you know, I love the branding. I can see it all in the background. And I can say that because I can see you. This video podcasting is so new to me. But personal branding is something that's incredibly important for every business owner. And I think more and more, specifically in a post-COVID world, I've seen it blow up. And if you're not there, you are getting left behind now. But I also see the fear. Like, a lot of people don't like to hear their own voice back to them on a voice recording. A lot of people don't like to be seen. I used to be one of them. What are your top tips? Because you always seem so laid back, so not flustered. You just seem to have it all down, and it comes out so fluidly from you.
Yeah, it's all going to be down to practice, right? And going through the motions of it and putting yourself in your being uncomfortable and taking yourself out of your comfort zone. I'll be completely honest, I'm still petrified if I have to do a talk between 10 of my peers, right? I went away for a workation last week, and I had to, you know, do a quick talk to them there. I was so nervous about that, because I'm feeling like these are the people who know me inside out. They know what I'm saying. Then, you know what I mean? There's almost a judgment there that I wouldn't get if I was going in front of 200, 300, 500, whatever the number is going to be of people, right? Because it's a different skill set and a different habit. So we're always going to be at a point where we're learning and understanding, and actually that fear, that thing is actually what it's all about. Like, if you were to go on a stage completely numb, I feel like you're not being your true self. I feel like you're not going to be able to go on and actually give out the best of what you can. I feel like you're just going to be almost robotic and just kind of going through the motions, where actually, honestly, every time I go on stage, there's always that butterfly there. There's always that anticipation, but that I feed off that. I feel like that's the bit where I'm going, you know what, I'm doing this right. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this for a purpose. And I feel like if everyone can kind of feel that they should be feeling nervous, they should be maybe a little bit sick, or, you know, however your body reacts to going out of your comfort zone, and actually that's a good thing, because that's you telling yourself that you want this to work, you want this to come down well, you want this to, you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing, you don't want to, you know, you're going to keep yourself accountable, because your body's telling you that actually you're doing something that's a bit scary here and a bit weird and a bit, you know, out of your comfort zone. And so feed off that, like, learn to feed off that kind of element. And when you don't feel that, I feel like that's when you stop talking on stage, you stop doing these things, or at least you take a step back and you come back at a later time, because then you're not being genuine, you're not being yourself. So that's my top tip, is feed off the actual anxiety. My other top tip is you're going to be your worst critic ever. So the best thing I ever did was record myself and then edit myself, because the second you do that, you go through and it's like, well, why did you say this? And why are you doing that? And oh my day, you're rubbing your nose all the time. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to find those little things. You editing your own content will be absolutely the best thing. And the worst video you'll ever make is that first video. That's the worst one you'll ever do. And then from now on in, for every bit of content you do after that will be incrementally better each time. And then just keep doing that. Keep about. You've already said it yourself. Like, one of the key things in business and in content and everything else in life is to evaluate what's already there, right? Use that as a barometer. And you can't evaluate anything until that first bit of content's out there, before that first bit of podcast, before that first video, before whatever it is that you're trying to achieve is out there. So you need to get it out there. Then you can evaluate, you can figure out what's right, try something a bit different maybe the next time. But each time you're going to do a better job than you did the last time. I can't go back and watch my old videos. It's as simple as that, right? And I've got, 750 of them out there now. But I know that those first videos is really important, because if it wasn't for that first video, I wouldn't be where I am today. And you've got to have that. You've got to take that journey. You've got to get out of that comfort zone, feel a little bit sick, feel a little bit uncomfortable, because that's you saying to yourself that actually you care about this and you want to keep cracking for it. So, yeah. What about you? Why did you start? What was your catalyst to making that first bit of content?
See, I work very differently to most in the industry, and I feel we're quite different. We like to be a little bit different to everybody else. And yeah. I looked at what other industries were doing. So what were other industries doing? Other industries were making video content. I do not want to make silly dancing TikToks. I mean, I love music. You'll see me at as many live concerts as I can get to. But that's just not me. That's not me. And what was more important was that's not what my audience wants to actually look at. That's not what they're interested in looking at. My audience is business owners. Business owners do not care about dancing TikToks. Business owners are coming to me because they want my expertise in business and they want to build a better one. So I always try to remember what they want, and that they don't care that I'm rubbing my nose. They don't care that my hair's not completely straight. Like, they don't care. They're interested in what I have to say. They're interested in what information I'm providing them with and what value I'm giving them to help them get to where they want to be. So for me, people that are scared of putting themselves out there, I always remember that they don't really care. They don't care what you look like. And the first time you do anything, I tell my kids the same, the first time you do anything, it's going to be utterly rubbish. The first podcast I released was awful. The first video I did of myself, I must have took about 20 takes before I actually went on the internet. And then I put a filter on it because I looked too pale in my own opinion. Because, like you say, you are your own worst critic. Whereas nowadays, I don't really mind so much. I just, like, if I've got something to say, something pops in my head, I'll flick my camera up. Nowadays, technology, you can literally take a video with your phone and it's good enough quality to go on the internet. You can just pop and say what you need to say. The one thing, I think the biggest piece of advice I could give anyone about wanting to be more seen and heard, and it's a mistake I made, is don't sit on the fence. If you've got an opinion that's slightly, maybe not what the rest of the public agree with, then say it. Because the most interaction I get, because people feel seen, they're like, yeah, no, I believe that too. I feel like that. I feel that like that's wrong, but no one else is saying that thing. And I have the confidence
or they want to
now,
defend it.
Yeah, I have the confidence now to say that thing, to do that thing, I made a post on LinkedIn, as you saw last week. I had problems with software and I couldn't get hold of anyone. And in this day and age, communication should not be a problem. You should be able to get a phone call from someone or send an email to someone if you've got an issue. And I resorted to LinkedIn. I took a photograph of myself literally where I was sat, because obviously things with photograph tend to get more reach than just text, because people are nosy and want to know what's going on in everyone's world, as you said. And within 2 hours, it was resolved. I'd been going around in circles for weeks. And that time you can't get back. And as business owners, we don't have enough time as it is. So, yeah, you might not have the confidence to begin with, but you've just got to do it. I completely agree. And it's funny how you say that you get anxious, because I would never, ever have noticed that. And it's something a member of staff said to me. But before I go on video calls, sales calls specifically or particularly, I get the worst anxiety. I get proper shakes, I get stomach ache, I feel sick to my stomach. But put me on a stage in front of 200 people and I'm fine.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us on social media. Like, rate and review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that I can help more business owners build a better business. See you next week.